And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to another edition of Exploring Self-Mastery with me, Peter J. Redding. Great to have you here. For the last couple of weeks, we've talked about how do you actually find your core self? I mean, as straightforward as that sounds, how do you do that? And if you haven't done that, you've just fallen into this particular episode, either live that we're doing right now or on a recording on YouTube or Facebook, wherever you found us. Go back to do class number 2 specifically, episode number 2. We go into how do you actually articulate your core self, your original self, the self that your creator created for you to be. And stop watching this one. I know that's antithetical to all of you that are YouTubers and want people to stay. Go do episode number 2. For those of you that have done that, today we're going to be looking at, last week we validated. This week we're going to be looking at how do I actually align my life, my decisions, my actions, my goals, my aspirations with to be living in congruency with my core self. So that's a journey. If that's what you're excited about, you are exactly in the right place. It's great to have you here. We're going to go through a great example. I'll tell you right up front that this sheet that we're going to be going through, the alignment process, is on CoreSELFy.com. It's a free download, no charge. This is my way of giving back to the planet, to have people live and celebrate who they were created to be. Yeah, that's what I'm about. So I'll give you one other additional thing before I launch into this. If you're in a position to be able to support people as an educator, as a leader, as a developer, learning and development professional, HR, parent, educator, the processes that we're going through are so basic to humankind and to a life well lived and a life that is in alignment with, again, who the creator made that individual to be. I encourage you to use these processes. Again, they're available at no cost. Use them, please. Spread them to all the people that you care about or love. Yeah. Okay. And it's, again, CoreSELFy.com, at CoreSELFy.com. You see the right below. Yeah. All right, let me see if my PowerPoint can get operational here. And it's aligned. Let me move over just a tad bit here. There we go. Okay, so you'll see from this slide, we are in episode 4, process number 3, core self alignment process. So now that I know who I am, the next question is, am I living in accordance with that? Am I living in alignment with who I know I was created to be? Or not, as the case, or to what degree? So that's what we're going to explore today. And I love this quote. You know how I love quotes. Today you are you. That is truer than true. There is no one alive who is youer than you. If that sounds like Dr. Seuss, you were right on. It is Dr. Seuss. His given name was Theodore Geisel. He lived in La Jolla, California. I actually lived in La Jolla, California at the same time that he was still alive, but didn't know it because I did not grow up with childhood books that he's famous for. But one of those books that we use in our coach training at coachforlife.com for the last 25 years has been Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. And so I have a great admiration I found out later in life when I was at Dartmouth visiting my nephew. He was a graduate of Dartmouth in New Hampshire. So there's a whole room that's dedicated to Theodore Geisel, Dr. Theodore Geisel, Dr. Seuss as we know him. So that's the quote of the day. Today you are you. That is truer than true. There is no one alive who is youer than you. It just tickles me when I read that. So my quote, okay, it's sort of an adaptation, not as clever, but an adaptation of that is your core self is 100% unique. No one else in the history of humankind can contribute what and to whom you are here to contribute. Okay, Peter J. Redding, that's me. You're unique. You are incredibly unique. The biologist and an anatomist will tell you that 98.3% of your body is exactly the same as every other human being on the planet, and you are a unique human being. You're put here to contribute in some sort of a unique way, whatever it is, whatever that might be, and you're going to touch lives that nobody else can touch. I want to really allow that to sink in. You are youer than you. No one's youer than you. Yeah. Okay. So let's get right into the process. This is the CoreSELFtech alignment process. Step one is aligning with a goal. So now you can do this with any goal. You can do this with a goal that's a month away. Today, I'm going to encourage you to pick one that's maybe a year and a half, but not 5 or 10 years from now. Eventually I'm going to retire. Eventually I'm going to start a family. Eventually I'm going to be the CEO of the company. Eventually I'm going to write a book. If it's more than a year and a half, pick something that's closer in. And so I suggest here a year. It doesn't have to be exactly a year. And I'm going to use an example from my own life that I'm working through right now. In fact, I just talked to a realtor this morning about a potential property that I might be able to build a workshop. Okay, because I love working with wood. The house that I'm in right now has a little tiny workshop that's probably 11 feet by 11 feet, or, let's see, what would that be? Maybe 3.5 meters by 3.5 meters. And so I have a dream, a goal, an aspiration to have a high scale personal workshop. And it won't fit on a property that I'm on right now. Right. So my goal, I'm going to use this example throughout this session for the next hour. My goal and it's probably more like a year and a half, okay, is, and I can't write down this right now, so I'll just have to say it verbally. And I'll give you a time to think about your goal as I'm sharing mine, is to create a property where I can build probably a 1,500 square foot or 2,000 square foot high-end hobby woodworking workshop. Okay, so that's my goal. That's my goal. So I give you a second to write down your goal on your own. You don't have to put this in a chat box. Don't share it right now. Just put it on a blank piece of paper, or if you have downloaded this form, you can write it right on the form. So write down your 1-year goal. Okay. So I'm going to assume that you've done that. We're going to move on to, there's 3 major steps here. You'll see major step 1 is aligning with your goal. Step 1, and there's 2 or 3 steps inside of this, or sub points. So 1 is to state write it down. The second one here is, to what degree on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being low, 10 being basically 100%, is your stated goal above that you just written down aligned with being your core values, fulfilling your life purpose. And the third one is employing your core strengths. Employing your core strengths. So you get several lines here, right here. So I would put from 1 to 10 on this line in terms of, okay, so building a workshop for my woodworking as a hobby. Now I may end up selling some things, or I may end up making things for friends or family or people that I love. But it's mostly for me. It's just my retreat. Okay. So I want you to think about that. And I want you to imagine, before you fill these in, actually having what you have written on goal number 1. So let me go back one. Okay. So once you've written this out, I want you to live inside that as having been accomplished. So if it's a year out or a year and a half out, put yourself in that space. You've just become the CEO. You've just gotten the Porsche. You've just gotten, you've started a family. You've just gotten, you set up your own entrepreneurial operation, whatever that goal was. I want you to live inside actually experiencing that viscerally, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, every which way that you can, and living that, achieving and being inside of that. Okay. So I'm going to do that just for, I'm going to take 30 seconds. I'm going to be in my workshop. Smelling the wood, looking over at my beautiful planer. I see my CNC machine in the back of the shop working. It just tickles me. It's a perfect temperature inside. I've got nice clean air to breathe. I'm working on 3 different projects. I have a huge live edge slab that the CNC machine is flattening right now. You can hear the hum of that. Yeah, okay. All right, so now with that firmly in mind, I'm going to come back to, all right, my core values, and to what degree am I experiencing those things or being those things as I'm inside my workshop right now. So my values, I think I shared last week, was sense of freedom, creative, connection, thriving, retreat. This really, this is literally a retreat for me. All right, this is my way of recharging, resetting. It's like hitting a reset button for me. So thriving, yes. Connecting, yes. Creative is incredibly creative. Every piece that I make is 100% unique, just again, like me. It gives me the freedom to do that. Okay, so here I put a 10 in here. Okay, in fact, I'm just gonna write it down on my personal worksheet here. That's a 10. Core values, categorically a 10. All right, fulfilling my life purpose. My life purpose is I am the exquisite and playful orchestration of the individual's full and unique expression and spirit's oneness that come together to create a bodacious flourishing of life. That's my life purpose. So for me, having this workshop, being in that space, it is connecting my physicality, my humanity, my humanness with basically a spiritual endeavor. I love woods. I love the organicness of woods, the uniqueness of woods that God has created, and that sense of the oneness of bringing the two together and creating a bodacious flourishing of life. So I'm going to give that an 8. I'm going to give that an 8. I'll put an 8 down there. Okay, I had a 10 up here with the values. Now, my natural gifts and talents, same thing with that, or my core strengths. Creating safe space, yes. Listening with honor, not a lot except for internal listening. In fact, I like that. I think that's the first time I said that out loud. Listening to myself as I am in this place of retreat. Wow. Wow. See, now that never come to me. Championing, that one, not so much. Facilitating magnificence, categorically, yes. Loving, categorically, yes. Seeing the best in everyone or everything, yes. Here, I'll show you. I got chunks of wood that are literally in my office here, right? So I get this chunk of wood, plain old piece of wood. It's been sawed. It's got burn marks on it. It's been roughed up by life, if you will, kind of like a human being. And I see the incredible magnificence inside of this. I just do. I know that there is something innately inside, in other words, and put there by the nature of the piece of wood that I get to reveal. And okay, yeah, I'm a little bit crazy about this. That's great. That's my passion. But yes, seeing the best in everything and everyone. Seeing conceptually, categorically. I mean, I have this whole thing in my head figured out where my equipment's going to be, the workflow is going to be, the finishing room is going to be, etc. Communicating complex concepts so others can understand. Well, you'll be the judge of that, but hopefully this is working. And being generous. Yeah. So I'm going to give myself a 9 on that one. Give myself a 9 on that one. It's fabulous. I'm glad that you all came to see me watch this, do this, and do this for yourself as I'm doing it. Okay. So you'll have 3 numbers here from 1 to 10. My first one was 10. Okay. So I multiply that times 3. That gives me 30. My life purpose, I gave that an 8. I'm going to multiply that times 5. So that gives me 8 times 5 is, wait a minute, 10 times 3 is 30. Yeah, that's right. Okay, 8 times 5 is what, 45? 32, 45. No, 5 times 8 is 40. Thank you. Well, arithmetically a challenge right in second. And then my last one was 9 for my core strengths. So 2 times 9 is 18. So I've got 30, 70, 88 is my final number. So where it shows here, my goal is currently aligned at my combined core self, taking the 3 components above, and that comes out to 88. So that I would put 88 down here, and it's a percentage because it's 1 out of 100, right? Or 10 to 100. So that would give me 88 percentile congruency or alignment, which is really, really good, right? Now, let me go to step 3. If you have any questions, by the way, as we go into this, either on YouTube, I've got the YouTube chat box, I think on my screen here somewhere, and I've got the one that for those of you that are here live with me on the Zoom, you can put your questions in here. And if there's a misunderstanding or a question that you have, then let me know. And I will try to get to those and notice those as we go through this. Yeah. All right. Okay. So the sub-step number 3 is when the final goal is not fully aligned with core self as much as you desire, what needs to be or could be changed? So this is a time to frankly edit that future goal, that future aspiration, the future desire that you're creating, and do it now. Do it ahead of time. Again, and then go back through the process. Go back through the same process that we just went through in step 2, where it said, okay, so now that it's been morphed or modified or edited, something been added or something been taken away. Now go back through and evaluate and experience being in that future state of having achieved it. And again, go through the 3 elements. How are you able to be, and are you being authentic in that place, in that role, with that achievement, driving your Porsche, becoming the CEO, getting your kids into a great university, whatever that goal was. Okay. Then go back and verify in step 2, like core values, like purpose, natural gifts and talents. Yeah. Okay. And do that as iteratively. In other words, you may have to go through that process 2, 3, 4 times to kind of create that perfect goal. And if you cannot, or let's say that it's aligned at 40% and you're just trying to force it to be more than that, then maybe it needs to be dropped. And I don't say that lightly. But how often in your life, or in someone that you love's life, that you've seen them beat their brains out, sometimes quite literally, in terms of just they're exhausted, they're spent, but they actually, they fall over into that goal, and yes, I've achieved it now, but it's hollow. It's a sad thing that. Have I been guilty of that in my life? Yep. I haven't been immune. I achieved some things, and then when I got there, it's like, I thought it would be more satisfying, more fulfilling than this. The thrill of achievement waned, dissipated very rapidly, because it was vaporware. It wasn't solid. It wasn't aligned with who I am. So as a professional coach, I go through this process very similar to this, almost exactly like this, with my clients, to say, okay, so if that's your goal, let's see, will it bring what you want it to bring in a way of deep personal satisfaction, fulfillment for you, or not, or to what degree? And in some cases, it saved them 8 years, quite literally. It's like a huge honor as a professional coach is to be able to give back 8 years of a person's life by having it reoriented to what's really important to them, as opposed to what they unconsciously think is going to do it. I read, and then, I love quotes. So I actually read a great quote here by Jim Carrey, actor here in Hollywood, United States. Funny guy. But he has a very serious side too, and a very, very intelligent, deep side. And it says, I wish that everyone in the world could get fame, fortune, so that they know that that's not the way. Is that great? Because so many people spend their lifetimes searching and doing whatever they think is going to bring them deep satisfaction, and it ends up not. That may be the way for some people. Yeah, and I get that, and that's what they're meant to do. That's who they're meant to be. That's and it contributes to the beauty of life for me personally, and other people in terms of their entertainment or whatever they become famous for, sports, writing, whatever. And for a lot of people, they think it's going to be that, and it's not. So do step 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, and you're the one that's going to set the threshold. By the way, you can set it at, it needs to be 80% or higher. The old 80-20 rule is a good way to start. I personally like shoot more towards 90%. So when I get off this live streaming, I'm going to go back and tweak my goal, and maybe there's some things that I haven't thought about yet that I can add to that will bring me more in alignment. Maybe it's the component of teaching, which I love doing and I'm really good at. Maybe I can add this workshop, have a place for students to come in, or young craftsmen that are wanting to learn the trade and maybe I can contribute or be generous to, include that as part of my vision. I like that as I say it out loud, and it's like, yeah, okay, so that is something I'm going to add, and that's going to then maybe move my 88 percentile satisfaction of fulfillment maybe up to 92, 93%. Okay, so that's step 3. All right. Okay, I got a question coming in from Sanjeev here. Let me just go down here, Sanjeev, and see what we got here. Let me get it so I can actually read it. All right. So Sanjeev says, I'm on a journey, but not achieve the target. I am living with core values, life purpose, and natural gifts and talents. Should I give higher marks of or based on how far I achieve the goal? Now, this is not about the journey, but we're going to get to the journey actually. Okay, so Sanjeev's actually bringing up a great point, but he's one step ahead of me, as usual. I love you, Sanjeev. We're going to actually apply these same principles to the journey towards that goal. It's like, okay, so there's the ultimate goal, or at least one of my ultimate goals, because I don't know about you, but I have several goals all at the same time and operating in my life, some personal, some professional, some near term, some far term, some big, some small, and so on and so forth. And this can apply to all of that, by the way. So we're going to get to the journey piece. But the first part of this is, first of all, visualizing, like in a dream or in a movie, or put yourself in the place of having achieved that bigger goal. And does that bring deep personal fulfillment or not? And the information that you get is as valuable one way or the other. So you should know that it's gonna come pretty close. It's not gonna be totally, and I can apply my core self to everything and anything that comes along. It's not just one thing that is going to bring me nirvana. It's not that way. This hasn't been for me. And I can achieve it many, many ways. So first of all, the goal, then the journey. We're going to talk about the journey right now. All right, so we're going to go into step 2 of this whole process. So let me come back to this. Based on your current understanding, what you know are what are the next 3 steps? So this is the beginning of major step 2. I just cut it out so I could fit this on my slide. That's all. So this has, I think, little steps 4, 5, and 6 or something. So number 4 here, it's kind of small, so I'll read it out. Based on your current understanding, what do you know are the next 3 action steps that you need to do towards accomplishing this goal? Okay, so now we're going to look at the action steps, and I'll give you mine as an example. Action step for me is to find a piece of property that I could actually build this thing on, because it's not possible in my current domicile. There's no room for it. About 3/4 of it would have to hang out into the water, and that's not going to work for me. So step number 1, I'm going to write it down for myself here, and I'm going to invite you to do the same for your goal as I'm doing this. 1, find property. And I'm going to say within 20 minutes. Within 20 minutes of my house. So I'm going to just do a radius or a compass and say, okay, so if it takes more than 20 minutes to get there, it's not going to work, because I want to be home and be here and not be away or spending a lot of time traveling. That's not going to work for me. Okay, so number 1, find property within 20 minutes. Step 2 is to do a layout, a configure actual workshop. Okay, I mean, I don't like on a sketch it. So how many square feet do I need for this machine to work, and what kind of workflow do I have, and where's the finishing room going to be, and where's the lumber going to come in, and where's the the other things that I'm going to need, hand tools to do what I want to do. All right. And so do the actual layout. Next action step would be have another conversation. It's not my first one, obviously, with my life partner, because this is going to impact her in terms of, I'm going to be away, and is 20 minutes travel time and all of that going to be okay for me to get back here if I need to? Ask her for her support, ask her for, her ideas, because she's also in a conceptual thinking like I am. So we can see things that aren't tangible yet and play with those concepts, objects, lifestyle, all kinds of things. So that's the third one. All right. So those are my 3 action steps. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to think about what 3 steps would be appropriate for your goal. Write those down for yourself. Again, if you came in late or skipped to the middle of this form that we're going through, the CoreSELFtech alignment process, is free and available, and you can download it at www.coreselfie.com. That's like right there. All right. www.coreselfie, self with an IE, kind of like a snapshot. It's like an internal snapshot. CoreSELFie.com. Free download. All right. So let's move on. Step 5. Bringing, and this is what Sanjeev was talking about, I think, in terms of his question before. And I see that Cello was saying, you may download process number 3, alignment process here. Okay, she's got it in the chat box. That's great. Thank you, Cello. All right, step 5, bring alignment to your stated goals, action steps, using your, not surprisingly, core values, life purpose, core strengths. So who do you want to be as you're going about doing your 3 steps? So as I go about finding property, who do I want to be? Do I want to be frantic? No, that's not me. That's not the core me. It might be the hectic me. It might be the scattered me. It might be the not believing there is a property out there for me, and I'm like at my wit's end. That's not how I want to live my life. That's not how I align myself with my core self and my action step of finding a property. So again, I go back to how can I bring my sense of being, a sense of freedom, which is part of that is for me represents ease. There's a sense of ease and grace about that one for me. How can I be creative? Maybe look at properties that nobody else is looking at, that they can't figure out what to do with. I can't put a house on it. I can't farm it. It's too small. There's got to be a nook or cranny in someplace in Central Florida that I can find a piece of property that somebody else is saying, I don't know what to do with this. I'd love to sell it to somebody. Thanks for showing up, Peter. That's what I want, right? Thriving, retreat, bringing those qualities into my action step of, and not just finding the property, by the way, but the other 2 that I wrote down here is configure my actual workshop. So how do I want to be as I'm doing that? Well, I want to have fun doing it. I want to thrive while I'm doing this. I want to see what other people have done in terms of their creations of workshops. And there's hundreds of YouTube that are giving shop tours, right? or whatever's going on for you, apply these same things to you. How do you apply your core values to this? And which ones in particular, and then write them down. Okay, so I want to bring in sense of ease, which is part of thriving or freedom. Creative, absolutely categorically, in terms of both finding a property as well as designing the workshop on paper, right? 3D model, on Sketch It. It's even free. It's amazing. And create a retreat. Imagine living inside of this beautiful workshop. It's got windows, it looks out onto a beautiful scenery, or it's got, if I can't find that, last night I thought of, if I just put huge television screens up there with just, like a YouTube water gurgling through the forest, and just have that playing, and I can look out and imagine that that's what's on outside of my building. And life purpose. To what degree is this fulfilling my life purpose of a bodacious flourishing of life for me and for those that I'm creating for, putting my energy into this piece of unique table, this unique pen, this unique shelving unit, whatever it might be, piece of furniture. Yeah. All right. So that's what we're talking about here. And this is more descriptive. This is not, 1 to 10. This is, what are my actual core values that I want to bring to all 3 of these steps, and future steps, by the way. This is not just a static one-time event. Good, I'm done with it, and I'll put that in my binder and forget about it. No, each phase of this for the next year, for me, maybe year and a half, how can I consciously align my next action steps? Because we're only talking about the first 3 here, maybe some 3 big ones, but nevertheless, there's going to be probably 150 different steps between here and walking through the front door of my workshop. Same thing with life purpose, seeing each action step through the lens of my life purpose. And so here's a question that I ask for this one that's in the middle of the page. Is there anything that I can add or take away that would increase my alignment with my life purpose along the journey? Okay. So am I in the process of helping to fulfill my life purpose in that action step? And I think this goes to Sanjeev's insight in terms of, am I applying this to the end point? Yeah, we did that already. But now we're doing it for all the action steps in between. So I can choose. Here's my experience. If I unconsciously don't choose, if that makes sense. If I unconsciously just kind of get in the hecticness of, I have to get this done. I have to find something quick. I have to do this. I'm not enjoying this part of it, but I know that I'll enjoy it when I get to the end. Well, then I'm just wasting a whole bunch of chunk of my life in an aggravated estate that's not my true self. It's not. It's not healthy either. I have no peace of mind. There's no joy. There's no laughter. There's no excitement. There's no, because life happens every day, not just a year and a half from now when I've achieved that goal. So I encourage you to align with yourself daily. Next week, by the way, tune in next week. We're talking about a 30-day tracking process that I've developed and used over the last 25 years. What are my habits that I have normally on a day-to-day basis, and am I following those, and are those aligned with my core self or not? And it's remarkably, it's a great data collection, conscious data collection that reflects back on, oh, that's why I'm having a lousy day. I stopped being my core self. I stopped being me. I don't know who the heck I am, but I don't even want to live with them. All right. So life purpose, core strength, same thing here for each of the action steps that you've developed. I'm seeing another question here. What percentage of marks will be good to revisit goals? What percentage of marks? That's again a personal choice that you can have in terms of what percentage that you're at, to revisit or to let it be the way that you've got it designed right now in your head or on paper. Like I say, I shoot for at least 80%. Now, again, I'm not obtuse to, people that have to do things that they don't want to be doing. Like I hate my job, but it pays really well, and I need to earn that money for supporting my family. I get that. And so be conscious of that. And if it ends up that piece of life is at 30% of fulfilling my purpose and my gifts and using my talents and all of that, what else can you do to enhance it to move it from 30% to 50%? I can guarantee you there's things. If you are focusing on what you're missing, then you're going to see what you're missing. If you focus on what I can add to make it better, make my life better, bring better attitude to my work, instead of begrudging my employers right now of, all of my talents, life gets easier for me and for all the people around me. So, I guess the bottom line of all this is be conscious about who you are and what you're doing and how you're going about doing that. And the more that you can get towards that 100% level, I'm not there yet, by the way. Still parts of my life that are like, not really being fully me here. But I can tell you that I'm probably in the upper 90 percentile most of the time, whereas when I was 37, I was probably at less than 10%. And I didn't even know that. I was unconscious of the whole thing. All right, enough of that. We're moving on to step number 6, self-commitments. Are you willing to commit, yes or no, to completing these action steps that you wrote out at the beginning of our session today? So, okay. Action step number 1 completed by, action step number 2 completed by, and action step number 3 completed by. So I'm going to go through mine, find a property within 20-minute drive. And I'd like to do that within the next, I'm going to say 60 days. Okay, so we're at the end of August right now, so September, October. In fact, let's do it. I'm going to do it on my birthday, okay, which is the latter part of October. So by my birthday. No, that's a great synergy. I love that one. Okay, so it's not quite 60 days, but it's close. Configure actual workshop. That's going to take a little bit longer. I'm going to say by the end of the year, because there's a lot of planning. I've done some of this already, and there's HVAC, air conditioning, there's electrical, there's zoning, there's, I mean, just a ton of stuff that goes into that for not just a workshop, but the building that the workshop is in. So I'm going to say by, I'll say by January 1st next year, January 1, 2022. Okay, that should give me time to do a lot of research, planning, talk to people, zoning, et cetera, et cetera. Conversation with life partner this week and ongoing. This week and ongoing. There we go. Okay, so categorically. Now, see, one thing that's happened just in doing this exercise this morning with you, kind of like out loud, I'm excited. I'm more excited now than I was 45 minutes ago. Just by talking about it, focusing on it, knowing that this is a possibility, holding the promise of, wow, yeah, this could become a reality. And it's becoming more a reality as I speak about it, more of a reality that I'm literally writing it down on my piece of paper here and sharing it. So there's a commitment to move forward. There's an action step. Okay. So answer those questions for yourself. Am I willing to do this action step? Yes or no? And then if so, by when? See, Francine's got a comment here. I can see this being a great tool to explore with my clients as well. Would you agree? Categorically. Yeah, this is where this is born out of coach training that we've been doing for 25 years and working with clients. So it's not just, and I teach people how to do the self-discovery process with them, and clients get reconnected to their original self, what I call core self. But that's just the first step. It's part of it. To know that is only the first step. To do something about it and live in alignment with that is another whole level of commitment. The example that I use all the time is I knew for 20 years that I wanted to lose 20 pounds. And I didn't. I knew it. I knew it. It would be healthier if I did. And it wasn't until probably 4 years ago that I got serious about it, and I lost 20 pounds. Okay. And I'm much healthier because of it. So knowing something and then living it or aligning with it or doing it is two entirely different. And I respect that. I have compassion for people that, yeah, I know that I should blank, and but I'm just too tired to. I maybe later in life I'll do that. I get it. Choice is yours. You have free will. So yeah, thanks, Francine. That's a great insight, and yes, absolutely, categorically. All right, let's move forward. What do we got? Oh my God, we're doing good on time. Okay, self-accountability and support. And again, if you have a coach, then that's even better, because they can support to be part of your accountability, but they're not, as a coach, we're not, okay. I had 4 things that all clashed in my brain at the same time there. Do you see that? As a coach, I'm not their sole accountability. Okay, so, and we've talked about that in previous Exploring Coaching Mastery. This is all about self-mastery. And so what do I have or could I have put in place to support me to remember? Because as a human being, I forget or I get distracted. I get, there's another shiny thing that I'm moving after, that instead of, keeping my track on something that I know is going to be very fulfilling for me. So what type of self-accountability, I'm just reading the top bullet point here on number 7. What type of self-accountability structures would support me in fulfilling my self-commitments? Okay, so I've just created my self-commitments, the action steps, and step 6 and 5 and 6. I have my self-commitments written out. So what accountability do I use? A calendaring system? Do I put something in my Google Calendar on a weekly basis? Say, okay, so just checking in Saturday morning, Peter, where's the property search at? How's the layout coming? And iteration number 10.3 by now, or 15.7. What stage is that in of completion, so that you can have an architect draw it up or get it approved by the city or county or whatever's necessary, or by the time that unravels, etc. Right? So what self-accountability structure would I put in place? So for me right now, yeah, I think maybe a weekly Google Calendar, kind of continuing, put it in there for the next year and a half. What's the status of whatever the next step might be at that stage? What's the next step of bringing a workshop into reality? Okay, so I'm gonna actually write that down, because like I say, this is live and real for me. Okay, so Saturday, Google Calendar, status of Peter's signature woodcraft facility. There you go. Ta-da. And I just created an accountability piece that nobody else has to do. If I look at my calendar, which I do on a daily basis, oh yeah, well, I've been so busy doing another project. I lost track of that for the last 3 or 4 or 5 days or week or whatever. I have to follow up with George, if George is the permit guy at the county. What's happening? You know, has it been approved? What's the engineer up to, etc. All right. The support I am open to receive. The support. Now, this is for those of you that are all self-motivated, self-propelling, beating yourself up, you know, all of those kinds of things, which are not particularly anything that I agree with or advocate. Am I open up to receive support? Yeah. Okay. So I'll tell you the 3 things that just popped in my head was my life partner, is fellow YouTubers, particularly those that are do a lot of videos on shop design YouTubers or shop tour. And because I'm just connected with the universe, I just know that the universe will deliver. And again, that's just me. You don't have to put that in there for you, but however you want to put that in, you know, faith in the universe providing me my good, and my God, that he's really come through in my life. All right, so universe. Here we go. I am open to receive support. This is not just a solo venture. There's going to be all kinds of contributions that will come in as it relates to this. So, and from maybe unknown sources, you know, maybe there's a guy at the equipment company that I'm going to be buying my equipment from that, you know, says, hey, I can support you with work design. I've got, you know, several models here that I could send to you for a 1,500 square foot workshop. So super. I'm open to receive that. Thank you. All right, moving right along. We got a few minutes left here. If you have any other questions, put them in the chat box. We may be able to get to them. That was the end. Ta-da. I now have something that I know very clearly is aligned with who I am as a human being, the way my creator created me to be. I have next steps. I have taken a look at, are those steps, or how could those steps be aligned with the journey towards my goal? Because, you know, think about it this way. The goal is, like I said, 1.5 years out for the one I've been using an example today. So I've got 1.5 years worth of life between now and then. And who else do I want to be in the next 1.5 years? You want to be some crazy person that is, you know, chasing something or forcing something or demanding or aggravated or confused, or, I mean, all the things that I'm not innately. Am I some of those things some of the time as a human being? Yeah, I am. Can't help it. But the recovery time with a tool like I've just shared with you today helps me come back to grounding myself in my Peter Redding's core self. It's the most glorious place that I can live from. It's the most supportive. It's the most generative. It's the most fulfilling. Woo. All right. Now, as a kind of a bonus cap here, you may not be able to read this, so I'll read it quickly. And here's some of the benefits. Here just plain benefits of a conscious practitioner of this alignment process and the core self model. Experience greater meaning and fulfillment during the journey towards the goal. I've talked about that now 4 times, 5 times in this session alone. So it's not just a focus on the goal, it's a focus on the journey in each step of the journey. And would it be nice to have meaning and fulfillment every day, every week? Yes, sign me up, right? Yeah, I'd like more of that. Thank you very much. Number 2, experience greater commitment and ownership in following through on the steps required to successfully achieve the goal. Yeah, I have deep ownership in this, don't I? And the more that I focus on this in terms of being in alignment with what will bring and does bring fulfillment to me, it builds up my reserves so that when I run into a snag, which eventually I'm sure that I will, somewhere, sometime, someplace. Okay, so do I have to deal with this? I have to deal with this. I want to do that from a place of, again, thriving, compassion, freedom, my values, and allow me to do that consciously. 3, experience greater resilience to overcome everything what I just said. Yeah, unforeseen setbacks and obstacles. Number 4, have a personally meaningful method to check in periodically to ensure continuing alignment, or, as it may be, non-alignment, by repeating the core self alignment process again and again and again, not just today, not just one time. Okay, good, done with that part of it for the next 1.5 years. Whoa, I don't know about you, but there's going to be a whole bunch of things that I need to remind myself, because I forget. Even though I teach this, I've written about this, I've created this, I'm human, I forget. What a great idea. Let's do that alignment process again, Peter. Ooh, good idea. Arrive at the goal's conclusion with a deep sense of personal fulfillment and without the remorse of sacrificing what is deeply meaningful to themselves. Now, I know people, and I was subject big time earlier in my life of going after a goal come hell or high water. All right, nothing's going to stop me. I'm going to be promoted. I want to be promotable. I want to skip a grade. I want to go, leapfrog to the next higher management level, which I did. And it cost me. And I was completely oblivious in the moment of going through those things. Yeah, it's going to cost me a marriage. It's going to cost me personal time. It's going to cost me aggravation. It's going to cost me, a chunk of my bodily health. Not proper eating, not proper hydration, not proper sleeping, and on and on and on. And so this process will support you in flagging some of those things earlier on and dealing with them consciously, from a conscious place. It's raising the level of awareness of who am I, and am I being true to my true self? Am I being true to my core self? Yeah. What's continuous non-alignment mean? In point number 4. Yeah, continuous non-alignment is, continuous non-alignment is continuing to be not who I'm meant to be. In other words, take all the things that we've just done, throw them out the window, and do it, just force it. I'm going to make this happen. That's what conscious non-alignment means, because I can guarantee you that's not on your core values. I will walk over people. I will do this one way or another, with or without support. Those are not on your natural gifts and talents. Nobody, I've never seen that on natural gifts and talents. They may have been trained to do that. They may be accustomed to doing life that way, by the time that they get to be 40, 35, 40, 50 years old. But it brings no joy. It brings no personal, deep, lasting sense of fulfillment for them. That's what that means, continuous non-alignment. It is actually healthily damaging. And again, I know, I speak from personal experience here. Yeah. All right. So we are at time. Thank you so much. Next week. Let me talk about next week. Well, congratulations on this process. You can read this later. Please pass this on to everybody you love or care about. Yeah. As long as you do it for free and you don't change it. You can have free access to this and, you know, give it to millions of people that are living in your neighborhood. Help me get to my billion people to know who they are. All right. We've been talking about this all along, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. How could you use this alignment process? You can use it for every single goal in your life: personal, professional, spiritual, emotional, physical, mental, all of the above. Next week is the 30-day tracking process. And this is, again, it's creating new habits. If I have not been myself for the first 40 years of my life, again, I'm talking about Peter here, maybe you, but for Peter, I needed to create new habits, new attitudes, new behaviors, new ways of being, to bring myself that was so far out of alignment, step by step, decision, goal, to finally be more in alignment with who I was meant to be, who my creator made me to be. Ta-da. And here's a picture of what that looks like at 72 years old. All right. Okay. All right. So we'll see you next week. Have fun with this thing. Enjoy it. Apply it to something that's meaningful for you. And we'll see you here, same time, same station next week. God bless. Namaste.